Now this cooler comes with a universal mounting kit, but for this specific application we're going to be putting it on an AM3 processor. What we do is take their universal mount here. The first step is to insert the little standoffs that the cooler is going to be locked down to. They supply you with some long, it looks about like 3-inch screws, and then these little nuts here that you roll over the top here that wedge into the motherboard there from behind. And then they also give you a couple of these little washers here. These do have a little stick to them, so it'll give it a little more security when you put this back plate on the motherboard here. The next step is installing the universal bracket onto the heatsink itself. This is secured down with 2 little screws here on either side, and then because we are doing the AM2, AM3, we do have to put in these 2 extra little brackets that screw with each screw here on the side. Now they do have a little bump here that tells you that it basically gives you the correct direction to turn these things, because if you were to turn it the other way, it's completely flat on this side, and it will fit, but the problem is it wouldn't be facing the correct direction, where this little bump just kind of goes into the groove and then you can screw them in. Now next step is to secure the fan on with the little screws with the tension springs that are in there. It just pops right on, and then they screw into place to secure down the heatsink. And then they have it as step 2, but I don't really see it as possible with these tension screws here, but to mount the fan. And the way that they mount the fan is with these little rubber, I don't know what you would call these things, they're just little rubber things you slide into the grooves here, and then you actually have to pull through, and then it has a little groove where the fan will just snap into place. Alright, so I found it much easier to put those little things into the fan first and then slide it in place, as it takes quite a bit of strength to pull these little rubber things through there. You can't just push it on. Now what you can see here is that the first DIMM slot here is covered completely, and it is, because of these little rubber things, there's probably about a centimeter of gap here between the actual heatsink and the fan. It's not flush against there, so it's actually partially covering the second DIMM slot here too. So if you had any kind of push configuration, it doesn't look like it's going to fit too well. So luckily the heatsink does have 2 sides here, so I can move the fan, flip it onto the other side in more of a pull configuration. So in the process of flipping the fan to the other side, I found out that these little rubber fan mounts snap really easy. That's that rubber right at that point where it snaps in is pretty thin, and it's got grooves here to kind of give it a little give, while it also breaks it completely when you're trying to pull them out. Luckily they do give you 4 extra ones. I would assume the 4 extra were more if you had another fan, you could do a push-pull configuration on here. However, if you snap a couple, you got a couple back up too.